Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurial, the show where bold Caribbean dreamers and doers pull back the curtain on what it really takes to build, innovate, and lead in our region. I'm your host, Heneka Watkis-Porter, and every week I invite you to join me for candid conversations with Jamaica's most dynamic entrepreneurs, actionable tech talks, and uplifting stories from our community. This episode is powered by Liberty Business, JPS, Digital Video Concepts, Madison Chai, and HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Today's guest is a change maker at heart, a social entrepreneur who's made it her mission to uplift communities and transform lives through purposeful innovation. Lanisia Rhoden has blended her passion for impact with sharp business acumen, launching ventures that tackle real-world challenges and inspire others to do the same. Her story is one of grit, vision, and a deep belief in the power of social good. Lanisia, welcome to the Entrepreneurial You.
Hi, Heneka, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I mean, it's been a while trying to get you on set, and here you are. So thank you so much. All right, so we go way back. Let's just put that out there. We go way back from the days of doing Patois apparel, and you were doing, what business were you doing at the time?
Well, back then I was in Young Women and Men of Purpose, which
Right.
is the nonprofit, and I also had a catering company
Right.
on concessionaire and catering services.
And so you've evolved into all that you're doing now. But before we get there, let's go way back to the beginning where young Lanisia was running up and down around the yard chasing chickens because she grew up in no, I'm just kidding. She wasn't necessarily chasing chickens, but take us through young Lanisia.
Right. Well, I grew up in a small nuclear family, mother, father, and I have an older brother. My parents, or my father was a pastor. He's still a minister till today, and my mom was heavily involved in.
Oh, so you're a PK, pastor's kid.
Right. And so basically, that's where I grew up. I grew up going to school, church. A lot of activities were centered around church, and that was it.
Yeah.
Basically, I was very active in church, teaching Sunday school from I was, a
Yeah,
child.
hi.
Very active in youth fellowship. A lot of the friendships, that I formed were formed in church and also in school. Today, I have a group of foundation friends. We're 10, and some of us were friends from we were 3 years old, and the bulk of us from high school, first form, second form, and we remained friends. So, I a lot of my foundational relationships were formed back then, and we carried through. But basically, that was life. That's how I grew up.
So that's interesting. I mean, that foundation of friendship that you still have, because as we grow into adulthood, right, what we recognize is that because of different lifestyles or vocations, all the different things, we usually grow apart because that is what has happened to me and many of my friendships. How have you managed to keep that, to sustain that?
We're like, we don't even know. I think we connected based on our interests and similarities, in terms of even just, our homes. I didn't come from a wealthy family at all. Parents were, regular working class. Even though my father was a pastor, he worked otherwise. So that was the background too of many of my friends. So we connected on that level. We were studying similar things. One of my foundation friends, who's a very dear friend, I remember she and I went to UTech, like when we were in, what was it, lower six. We decided that, well, we knew that we wanted to go into hospitality and tourism, and we applied for UTech at the same time, switched our programs at the same time, did the same thing. So we had a deep connection. And in terms of how we've maintained it, we have a WhatsApp group that we created, when WhatsApp was formed. We communicate in the group we do have some sort of reunion, not enough to be honest. But we communicate with each other, and then even in that large group, or reasonable sized group of 10, there are those of us who are still closer. So even my best friend now comes from the group. So you find that you connect more with a few persons, but we still maintain that. Something else that keeps us together is that we also have a scholarship that we do together, even through my organization, for a student at our alma mater, which is Manchester High School. So it's things like this that really keeps the bond going. And persons live in different places across the world. One person lives between Amsterdam and Nigeria, Canada, the US, and some of us are here in Jamaica, but we've still managed to maintain the friendship.
Oh, we could go a totally different direction in just on this topic alone, but I'm gonna stay on topic and talk, the whole entrepreneurship thing, because that's what I'm paid to do, like really paid to do. But let's go a little back and talk about some of the things that you like to do growing up. Because I can see from you talking about the friendship journey, I can see where social entrepreneurship is a natural thing for you. I see that natural, evolution, as it were. But before we even dive into that, let's talk about your likes, your dislike. What were your top subjects in school? What were your performances like? Things like that.
Right. So for me, because of the home I grew up in, so I grew up, seeing, especially my mom, caring for others. So, she had other daughters. I feel jealous.
Jealous, I was about to say, right?
I did. And I mean, I think that I always laugh about it. My adulthood too, she was more lenient with them and, stricter with me. But I saw her, doing a lot for others. We would go to children's home, through church, and she would just always try to help persons who are in need, giving advice. And I'm saying that because I believe I have taken quite a bit of, the traits and characteristics of my mom in terms of like having that soft spot for persons who are in need, just helping persons who, may not have all the resources that they need. And what is remarkable, it's not that we had all the resources, but we realized that whatever we had can be shared to improve the life of someone else. So the social aspect of it, I would say a lot of it came through that. In high school, for me, and in school, I gravitated towards the arts. I remember in high school, I did the tourism subjects because I saw myself working in the tourism industry. My real dream, though, was to travel the world. So
Which you're doing now.
actually, I thought I was going to travel the world by working in the tourism industry and in a hotel. So I did the food and nutrition, the
I
hotel
did that too. Yeah.
management. I did French. I did well, I did Spanish, a preferred form.
Yeah.
Who didn't do French? French is good, right? And then I remember when I was in lower six, as I was exposed, I was in tourism action club at school. I was in Girls Guide too, so that balance. And I remember I was considering probably going to UA to do international relations because again, remember I want to travel the world, so I'm weighing options. And I remember a teacher who came to my church. He came to me in lower six, and she said, like, let me see you want to go into the hospitality industry. You don't need to go to upper six. You can go to UTech and do hospitality and tourism. And I'm like, well, the first thing I said to her, boy, my parents don't have any money to send me to college, right? And it's interesting that I'm saying that because I hear that from a lot of young people and I would advise them otherwise. And she said to me, no, you can get student loan. So that same friend and I, Charlene, we decided, okay, let's apply to UTech, apply for student loan, and we would be leaving our other foundation friends behind. But then we had a plan from early. We're like, UTech is 4 years. When they go to upper six, they're going to do 3 years at UE. So we still end at the same time.
Right? Intentional friendship, guys.
And that's it. So we got through for UTech. I tell a little secret. We got through. We didn't get in for the hospitality and tourism program. We got in for no, sorry. we got in for hospitality and tourism, but UTech wanted us to do 2 years in Mandeville at Knox Community College, which is a great institution. My friend and I decided that, boy, we can't leave sixth form and go to Knox and then stay another 2 years. So we're like, what can we do to get there? So this was determination coming out of us. And we called UTech and realized they have another program in the same school, food service management. And so we said to them, do we have to go to Knox for 2 years? They said, no, you come straight to UTech. So we switched the program. And we got in for food service management, and so we were off to UTech to do that. And as I said, that was another way to get into hospitality. Fast forward to 4 years later, we had to do internship to actually work in a hotel. And in my what was it, either first or second internship, when I got to the hotel, I remember I went to a hotel in Negril. When I got there, I realized that this dream that I had to travel the world to experience the luxury of the hotel as an employee,
it's not going
was
to
not
work.
the case. It's not going to work. I'm not going to travel. I'm not going anywhere. And so
Travel from your yard to the work.
exactly, right? And it was, we were working 6 days a week, and I started to rethink, my career path. But the Lord would have it that by the time I was finished UTEP, because I did French, which is very important in my life.
Yeah.
I did it in high school. And so at UTech, you had to do a language. So I chose it at UTech. And because I did it, in high school, I was advanced. And I remember my lecturer, who was from France, he told me about a program to actually go to France to teach English. And so I applied for the program. And basically the summer after summer, it was about September, October, after I finished UTech, I was off to France to teach English. So that is what really prevented me from going into a hotel to work immediately. So my dream of traveling the world
started right there.
Right then and there. I got to use, French that I studied. And I also got to, just explore the world. And I love food too. As I said, I studied food service management. So, the culinary arts in France was also very interesting.
Yeah, French food is chef kiss.
So that's a little bit of my journey. I spent a year in France teaching. And while I was there, I got to, explore and travel to a few other countries in Europe. And that really opened my mind to the possibilities of the world. And so by the time I came back to Jamaica, I wanted to start my own restaurant. And I was applying for jobs too. I didn't get any. And I remember I sat down one day and I'm like, you know what, let me use what I learned at UTech. And we had learned to write a business plan. And I used to see in the newspaper that, companies would put advertisements for concessionaires. And we actually did a course in contract food service management, which is how to start a concessionaire.
Yes.
And so I wrote a plan. I did my research, went to the banks, and asked them, do you have a kitchen? We could come in and prepare the meals for your staff for you. And for me that was important because I didn't have the capital to start any restaurant. But if I'm just going in with the labor and the food, then that was manageable. So that's actually the beginning of my formal
entrepreneurial journey.
And that's the background.
Interesting. And that's quite an interesting background. And you know what? I know you started with a conversation. We're going off into the entrepreneurship and stuff, but something I want to ask a little about, and it's not necessarily connected to entrepreneurship, but it's part of your beginning. So based on my experience with pastors, children, PKs, is that it comes with a lot of pressure. And I want to get from you, because there are possibly PKs that are watching right now, and I want to get a sense of what kind of pressure did you feel, and particularly when you were in your teen years and into adolescence, and daddy not watching, so you can be open, right? Did you feel your father being a pastor? What pressure did that have on you?
Well, yeah, there was pressure. I think though because it started like you were born into it. I feel like for my brother and I, we almost felt like it was just natural. It's not something that we had to
adjust
to because we basically came into it. But the type of pressures that I encountered was like you were not expected to do anything wrong at all. It's
No
almost like
pressure.
you were expected, to be
Be on your
perfect.
P's and your Q's at all times. I's
Exactly.
dotted, T's crossed.
I mean, people were always proud of us because we did the well,
Mhm.
both in school, and we were also very active. I loved what I did even at church. I like participating. I did have a natural knack for the sharing with others and teaching. So I did enjoy it, but those were
Yeah.
those were the kind
So
of
you know parties and those things, right? Like
no, as I said, the truth is, growing up, all my activities were centered around church and with my close friends and my parents. I was a person too. I introduced everybody to my parents, so they would come to my house and they knew them. But even though I never partied in that way, I didn't feel like I was missing out because we had so much fun growing up in
yeah,
church.
I know.
We had all the summer activities. We had the youth fellowship.
The camp, did you do camps and stuff like that?
I didn't do a lot of camps until I was like, later on in teenage years. I probably did one camp, so I didn't do a lot of camp. But we had
Disappointing, Lanisia.
the youth fellowship was good. The choir, you always had choir practice, and it was very good. I really enjoy. I think I enjoyed my you know teenage and childhood years, just being out there and connecting with people a lot.
Absolutely. I know youth fellowship, I've had a lot of that experience too, leading president of youth fellowship and going here, camping and all of these things. Amazing. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we want to hear about your foray, your formal foray into entrepreneurship. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Oh, Jamaica, rise, we're built with fire, passion and vibes, and through it all, there's a glow inside. Let's keep our shine alive.
From the market to the factory floors, from the hillside green to golden shores.
We're reaching heights, our energy that lights the sky. Shine bright, Jamaica. Shine bright, Jamaica. Feel the rhythm, we're on track. Feel it, feel it. Together we rise, together we climb. JPS Jamaica, together we shine.
Shine from the ends, shine with your family, shine with your friends. Light up the streets and make the vibes blend. Your JPS, they make the shine never end.
What great stories do you want to tell today? We are your storytellers. We are Digital Video Concept.
If you come to Jamaica and you want to have the best shoots ever, you have to call Digital Video Concept.
My experiences have been amazing.
They are fantastic.
Producing extraordinary imagery with high-definition cameras on the ground and in the sky.
Right when I landed in Jamaica, I felt the love.
I love working with them. You've done an amazing job. You are the best.
Excellence is in our nature.
If I put everything together, it's a great team.
Call us today for all your video storytelling need.
None of this would be possible, of course, if we didn't have our partners at Digital Video Concept.
Are you ready? We are ready. Let's go!
Welcome back. My guest, of course, is Lanisia Rhoden. She is a social entrepreneur and the founder of Why Mop, that's Young Women and Men of Purpose. Before the break, Lanisia, you were going into your amazing background, your backstory of, university and going to France. I mean, France is so lovely. Like we could talk a whole day about France, right? I love France. I love French food. The rooms are too small though. You need to change your mind. You have to go outside, change your mind, and come back inside. But I digress. So let's talk about that concessionary business that you had, that food concessionaire that you were running. How did that go, and why did you stop doing it?
So, so I told you the backstory. I, came back to Jamaica, trying to find a job, didn't. Started to write the business plan literally and do my research for the business. And while I was doing that, or after completing that, I got a job. So I parked it a little bit, and I got a job in a hotel in Mandeville.
Right.
Right?
Which is what you really wanted in the first place,
Yeah,
sort
not
of.
necessarily,
Yeah, right.
right? The truth is, that I actually got a job at a place in Kingston, but my mother called my past, and I wasn't able to. They would not allow me to work there. She just thought that it didn't align,
Mm-hmm.
with her virtues, and maybe too, it's her little girl going away.
Yes,
She wanted to keep me close in my level. But nonetheless, I actually ended up my first job in Jamaica in the hotel industry was at the Mandeville Hotel when it was open. As you know, Mandeville is not necessarily the tourist hub of Jamaica, so you can imagine that it was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was there, I actually was introduced to a part-time opportunity with Heart to actually teach entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Hmm.
it was in another parish, but because of the nature of it, I chose to do it, and I would travel to, White House in Westmoreland.
At least you're doing a little more traveling now, right?
Right. 2 days per week, 2 to 3 days per week to teach entrepreneurship. And I feel like I found my calling. It ignited something within me. I got to, train and to teach the trainees, how to start their business. So I was using what I had learned from a course at UTech to do this. While I was doing that, I was also exposed to, other trainings through Heart in entrepreneurship. And I remember I went to a training, and after that training, when I went back to the institution, I'm like, boy, but I'm here teaching entrepreneurship, but I don't have an actual business. And I remembered the business plan that I wrote for my restaurant, and I said, I have to correct that. I need to, go back to it. Fast forward, I transferred institutions, and while I was there, I decided that I was going to register my business, which is Lamont Concession and Catering Company, catering services. I also started to buy one chafing pan per month because they were expensive, right? I'd buy the cutting board, and I just started to put things in place. I didn't know when I was going to officially step out, but I said, let me do these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the Lord, that I've had it that, you see, when you prepare for something,
Yeah, man. To the comms. Come on now. Let's preach.
so that's what happened to me. I prepared. Um, while so a lot of things are always happening in my life at the same time. So while I'm doing this, I was also recommended by my boss to be a part of the JCDC Festival Queen committee for the parish of St. Elizabeth because I'm working in Junction, right? And I remember I went to a few meetings, and then I went to the training of trainers workshop, and the persons who came from Kingston, they're like, no, you should enter instead of, being a trainer. And I'm like, no, I'm not a pageant person. This is a public TV, competition. I don't want to do that. But by the end of the day, I was convinced, and I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it for my parish, which is Manchester, which is where I lived, and where I was born and grew up. And so I accepted to do that. I entered the competition, and I won for the parish of Manchester. And a part of it was, the essence of the competition is that you become a cultural ambassador for your parish, and if you win, for your country. But a big part also was about community service. And going back to what I spoke about, I grew up, seeing my mom giving to others. So I did that. I was involved in Key Club. I forgot to mention that Key Club at high school and Circle K at university, and later Rotaract in Mandeville.
Right.
So I was heavily involved in my community. So I'm inserting that there though because in October of 2009, I decided to take the leap and to quit my job and to go full time into the catering business. And it was a risk, it was a leap of faith, but it would have given me the opportunity to focus on it and also to be able to focus on my community service project, which was called Young Women of Purpose at the time in the evenings. And so that's how I did. I would have left my job like say Friday of this week, and I'm going into my first catering event on the Saturday.
And you were catering from home at this time now, or?
Catering from home. In fact, for my business, I ran it for 9 years, and I ran it from my parents' home for the entire 9 years. And we were doing functions as small as 7 to as large as 1,000 people.
Wow.
Not just in Manchester. I remember a big corporate company in Kingston hired us to do their customer appreciation. I didn't have a car at the time and I chartered a taxi, right? We prepared the meals for 1,000 persons, delivered it. After we delivered it, they also hired us to do Montego Bay and we did their branch in Mandeville. And as I said, everything happened from my parents' kitchen. And my family was involved in the business, so that was good too because they have been very supportive, and I think that's part of the reason why, I was able to, successfully carry out the business when I launched into it because they were there. So that's all.
Right. And so now you're doing the business, but you won the Festival Queen competition,
Right.
and then your life shifted. Let's talk about that journey.
Right. So while I'm doing the business, I mean, the catering is going steady. This is my bread and butter. I live in my parents' home, so I'm okay too. And we're carrying out the activities of the project. And what started to happen was that we started with our flagship mentoring program for young women between 13 and 25 who experienced challenges, abuse or teenage pregnancy and needed guidance to achieve their career goals. So we would have mentoring sessions twice per month, and we were doing that. I realized that the ladies were being impacted. My very first mentee, I developed a very close relationship with her, became the godparent of her children. And when I really realized that, this is something, was one day when she wrote me a letter just to say, how grateful she was. And she was also asking me, like, why do you do what you do? Nobody has ever, invested so much in her development. And it really touched my heart. And I realized that this is not something I can walk away from at the end of a year, even though that's what I'm expected to do.
So that was your project for the Festival Queen.
It was my project. And I had a lot of support to even competitors, even ladies who the second runner-up for the Festival Queen competition. She became a president of the organization in the early days. My trainers became volunteers of the organization. So I started to get support from friends and family to do the work that we're doing. So by the end of the year...
And which year was this again?
2009. So I won in 2009. So by the end of 2010, when I would have been, passing on the crown to someone else, I recognized that we won't close the project. The males were asking about them. So we actually extended the organization to become Young Women and Men of Purpose. We registered and became, a non-profit organization in Jamaica, and we just continued to do the work.
Right.
As I said, remember, the catering is there. What I recognized was that I started to pay more attention to
the social work.
The social work, which was voluntary, right? And so in my eyes, or right before my eyes, it just started to grow. You understand? More people were reaching out to us, wanting us to serve and to, mentor their young people. And more people wanted to volunteer. I was actually overwhelmed with the amount of persons. We never had a recruitment drive for years. And the only time we had a recruitment drive was when we were planning to expand to Westmoreland. And we went down there to recruit. But outside of that, people started to come to us to say, I want to volunteer. I want to be a part of this thing. And this is how we grew as an organization. And that's how my life started to shift.
Wow. So that's that we're looking now at the end of 2010 thereabouts. So we're going to take another break, and when we come back from that break, I want us to dive into fast track to where we are now with the organization and what you're doing, and what does it mean for you being a social entrepreneur and all of these lovely things. Let's take a break. Soon come.
And vibes, and through it all there's a glow inside. Let's keep our shine alive.
From the market to the factory floors, from the hillside green to golden shores,
we're reaching heights, our energy that lights the sky. Shine bright.
make the vibes blend. Yo, JPS, they make the shine never end.
What great stories do you want to tell today? We are your storytellers. We are Digital Video Concept.
If you come to Jamaica and you want to have the best shoots ever, you have to call Digital Video Concept.
My experiences have been amazing.
They are fantastic.
Producing extraordinary imagery with high-definition cameras on the ground and in the sky.
Right when I landed in Jamaica, I felt the love.
I love working with them. You've done an amazing job. You are the best.
Excellence is in our nature.
If I put everything together, it's a great team.
Call us today for all your video storytelling need.
None of this would be possible, of course, if we didn't have our partners at Digital Video Concept.
Are you ready? We are ready. Let's go!
Welcome back. Of course, my guest is Lanisia Rhoden, social entrepreneur, founder of YWOP YMOP. Lanisia, you have such an interesting story. We could sit and talk to you for days, right? Before the break, you were telling us about, of course, the social work that you've been doing,
Right.
you know, with YWOP YMOP. It began to get a little more of your attention
Right.
as opposed to your business.
Business, yes.
So take us into today. It's how many years later? 2010, 15 years, almost 16 years later. Right. Where are we now?
So, a pivotal moment for the organization that really changed, how we operate was in 2012. We applied for a grant to do a project. It was the Youth Entrepreneurship Project, and the grant that we applied for was the UN Habitat Urban Youth Fund. And that was to offer entrepreneurship training and support, including small business grants to the entrepreneurs who were ready to either start or to grow their businesses. So I remember the project was written and it was submitted. The grant amount was 19,000 US dollars. And we submitted the project. Lo and behold, we were shortlisted and then selected. And that opened the door for us to tap into the grant funding world for the organization and really to scale our impact beyond just the mentoring program for young women and men. And so we carried out that project between 2012. I remember it was also a pivotal year for me, too, because I was also going overseas to study. I had gotten a scholarship, the Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship, to do my master's in innovation management and entrepreneurship at the University of Manchester in the UK. So here's my organization. We got our first grant funding, and here am I. But we had a project coordinator who was very instrumental in just the execution of the program. And she was also trained by UN Habitat. She was flown to Colombo in Sri Lanka to be trained in project management, and she managed the project, and it went very well for the organization. While I was overseas, I was still managing, though, to ensure I kept in contact. I did experience some founders block, though, because I'm like, it's your baby, something you started. But that was pivotal for me too, because it helped to frame my mind in terms of how I manage and just operate the organization.
And you don't have to be integrally involved, and you can step away and let others, yes?
Yes, and that has been instrumental to our growth and sustainability even today. Right, so fast forward from 2012, since then, since we completed that project in 2014, in 2015, we got another grant to do a capacity building program for young women who experience abuse and teenage pregnancy. And ever since 2015, we have been getting grants every year sometimes more than one from different organizations. Majority of them were international agencies, embassies like the Canada Fund for Local Initiatives through the Canadian High Commission, the U.S. Embassy. Um, we now have funding from PriceSmart Foundation.
Yes.
Right, we've had so much. I don't want to leave out anyone, but we've had quite a number of grants and sometimes more than once from different funding agencies to really carry out the work that we have done. The entrepreneurship program that we started with, we would have paused on it for a few years, and then in 2015, when we developed what was called the REAP. Realize, embrace, achieve your purpose. We did capacity building first for the young ladies. We started just with 15, just to help them to build their self-esteem. And after we were finished that, we realized that a lot of them, because they were in abusive situations, they could not leave because they were not economically empowered. They had no jobs, they had no way to, earn for themselves. And so we decided to partner with her we did the training in maths, English, computer skills, and then we partnered with her for those who needed to do the entrance test to do so to enter and to further their studies if necessary. And we also helped some of them to get jobs. But while we were doing that and doing the evaluation, we also realized that there were ladies who didn't want to get jobs. They had the entrepreneurial spirit and they wanted to start their own business. We had young women who sold in the market and on the streets, and they had farms. They wanted to do their own thing. And so we decided, let's go back to entrepreneurship. And that's how we actually created the REAP entrepreneurship program. And we trained 20 young women at first in entrepreneurship and business management, gave the top, I think it was about 10 at the time, grants to start their businesses or to grow it, and we purchased what they needed for their businesses. And ever since then, we have been doing the cohort of REAP. We're now at cohort 12 of the REAP Entrepreneurship Program. We also launched the REAP Entrepreneurship Academy online because we've had an overwhelming number of applicants year on. I give you an example. Each time we put out a cohort, I think the last 2 cohorts we had, we needed just 30 young women and men, and we had over 495 applicants to choose 30. So that is the kind of
Wow.
The level of interest that we get for the programs, and that is why we continue to do what we do and continue to just expand as best as we can.
That is amazing. That is impressive. And I can speak to the quality of the program. I'm so happy to support as one of the mentors and, spoken at some of your events. I'm really, really thrilled about the work that you're doing. Let's talk about social entrepreneurship. And for persons wondering, is this even a viable option? Like, I'm more thinking business should be all about, or entrepreneurship should be all about profit. When you're thinking about the other P's, the people and the planet.
Right.
A lot of persons wondering, is this even viable? Let's talk about that, address that.
Yes. So social entrepreneurship, it's still a new concept for many. I was first introduced to the concept in 2012. In fact, when I went away to study, I actually ended up doing my research paper on how nonprofits can become sustainable by creating social enterprises. And I studied in the UK. Social enterprise was actually pioneered in, in that was one of the pioneering countries, and so they had like very strong programs for social entrepreneurship and social enterprise development. And so I garnered a lot from that, so much so when I came back to Jamaica, I was able to just slowly, try to implement in my organization. And also there were organizations in Jamaica who, Jamaica National Foundation, and others who pioneered social enterprise in Jamaica. So it's important because we can look at it in 2 ways. As businesses, are we just concerned about profit, the money that goes into our pockets and the pockets of our directors? Or do we really want to impact the lives of those who are supporting the business and impact the life of the communities in which, the business exists? And then on the other hand, those of us who, have that soft heart and want to create change and impact in society, we have to do it in a sustainable way. As I told you, when we started the nonprofit, we were volunteering for years, and I used to have people come to me and say, "How are you going to survive? Make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're saving." You understand? I didn't know initially too when I started the nonprofit that you could actually work and be paid, and this could become a career. So when I learned about social enterprise, that listen, you can do good work, but if you find a way to generate income, to generate profit, ensure that the profit is, as I said, is not just serving you, but serving the community, serving your mission, then you're able to sustain the work that you're doing and also to create even greater impact. So that's what it.
You know, Lanisia, I must tell you that the work that you do is really inspiring because you have inspired me. I've always seen myself, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. And outside of entrepreneurship, I've always seen myself with, somebody with a very kind heart and want to help. And I've been doing that along the way. Never in a million years, I think I would also be running a social enterprise, right? And you've also helped as a consultant to set up Grace to Grow mentorship and training. And here I am being inspired by you. I've been around since when you started. I remember going to Mandeville and doing all of those, like many, many years ago. And all these years you're
And
here.
we traveled to Antigua.
We traveled to Antigua together. We did that, and yeah, there's so many things. We've gone way back. So, and you continue to withstand the test of time. Speaking of the test of time, what are some of the tests that you've had on your entrepreneurial journey outside of the catering business? Let's stay on the social entrepreneurship vein. Yeah.
Boy, I mean, I think I've encountered the tests, typical tests that a lot of entrepreneurs go through, and I think we've become more open to talking about it too. There are days when I want to give up or wanted to give up.
It's not for the faint of heart, guys.
It isn't. And as I said, especially if you do not know how to sustain. So you're putting in the work, you're not necessarily, as we use the term, reaping the reward. So you're not seeing the tangible reward sometimes in life.
Stick a pin because they say an overnight success is 10 years in the making. Sometimes if you want, if it's 10 times 10, right?
Yeah. So there were days when I said, is this really what I'm called to do? Mind you, I knew that it was my purpose from very early on. But then, when things are not necessarily, going the way that you plan to go to do it, the way that you've planned, when I'm not getting the results that I expect, and sometimes even like that external support too, I would question, Lord, is this what you really want me to do? Like, show me a sign.
Yeah.
Right.
How many times we've asked for that sign? My gosh.
Yes, so that was one of the ways. Another thing too was, so for me, as I said, I have a very supportive family. They support my business. They support all the activities of my organization. But sometimes, especially for social entrepreneurs, you have to partner at greater levels to create greater impact and also for sustainability. So sometimes you want to partner with, for example, government or other agencies, and it may not be as forthcoming as you
Slow.
expect. Right.
Snail space.
Exactly. And sometimes if you're not careful, you might be discouraged, and want to kind of take the step back. But what always pulls me forward is when I remember the stories of my mentee, or when a reaper, shares how the program has saved them or, changed their life. That really pushes me forward.
Yes. What kind of legacy you want to leave behind?
So for me,
I mean, you're already doing it, but let's talk a little bit about it.
for me, so recently, I hope I remember the quote correctly. A friend of mine spoke as the keynote speaker at, our last REAP Entrepreneurship conference, and in his presentation, he had a quote for legacy to say that legacy is not what you leave behind, but what you actually do while you're here.
That's Coach Mike.
Coach Mike.
Yes.
And I mean, the first time I saw it, it stood out to me, it resonated. I'm like, oh my goodness, I've never looked at legacy in that way. Because we always talk about it, what are you leaving? But the truth is, you can only leave
If you're doing
what
now.
you're doing now.
Absolutely.
Because people remember what you do now.
Yeah.
And so for me, the legacy that I'm leaving is how I have caused, the impact that I've had on people's life. How just conversing with you, giving you advice, helping you where I can, made you feel and also inspired you to take action to change your life and the life of your family.
Yeah. Legacy is what you do now. What a pleasure. We don't have enough time. Thank you, Lanisia.
You, Heneka.
And that wraps our conversation with Lanisia Rhoden. She is a social entrepreneur, founder of Why WOP, Why MOP. And my gosh, what an interesting time we've had. Stay tuned. More on the Entrepreneurial You right after this break. Coming up, Liberty Tech Talk. It is time for Liberty Tech Talk, brought to you by Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Working in ICT, especially as a woman in leadership, comes with responsibility and opportunity. It's about changing the narrative while driving change from within. Technology, as we know it, has traditionally been male-dominated, but today, diversity is shaping stronger digital outcomes. As a woman leading in ICT, I bring not just perspective, but purpose to connect technology to people in a meaningful, relatable way. When women rise in ICT, we inspire others to believe that there's room for them at the table, whether it's in data, in strategy, or in leadership. At Liberty Business, digital transformation isn't just a product pitch, it's a promise. We co-create solutions that help our clients become more resilient, more scalable, and more competitive.
That was Liberty Tech Talk. Now for Community Connection, or spotlight on the people and projects making waves in our neighborhoods. Today, we're shining light on the Fruit Bar, a delightful small business serving up healthy gourmet fruit popsicles and fudge. Using only the freshest, locally sourced fruits, the Fruit Bar crafts flavors for every palate, from classic to adventurous. The story behind the Fruit Bar is just as inspiring. Founded by a mother of 4 who overcame years of oxygen dependence due to scleroderma, this business was born from a journey of healing and a renewed commitment to wellness. Each treat is a celebration of life, health, and the vibrant flavors of Jamaica. If you're looking for a guilt-free indulgence that's as nourishing as it is delicious, the Fruit Bar is one to watch. Welcome, Kaveen.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure to have you, and I had to bring you on. I met you at the WAFIF Business Expo, and I saw all these lovely things that you're doing. I just wanted to get the story behind it. So first of all, you overcame oxygen dependence due to this condition that I mentioned in the introduction. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Thank you. Well, scleroderma as itself, it's a condition, it's autoimmune, and it breaks down your system. Each person it affects differently, but sclero is for the skin. Mm-hmm. What happens with that now? It affects everybody differently. However, with me, it was affecting my lungs. And through, prayer, supplication, and fasting, I was healed from that after years of being on oxygen. I started eating differently because I have to be more conscious of what I put in my body. And it has been working for me. So I decided, why not share it? It's working for me. I would like for others to eat healthy as well. So I came to the decision that I'm going to go ahead and open up a business and name it the Fruit Bar. Healthy fruit snacks. And our newest addition is the jackfruit chips.
All right, so I want to start with the jackfruit chips because I have to taste this. Because it really looks good. Packaging is amazing.
Thank you.
Very, very lovely packaging. And I love jackfruit. I grew up in the country, St. Mary. Them should know St. Mary may come
That's
from.
right.
Right? From St. Mary, lots of jackfruit. It's enough. It's enough.
Thank you.
It really is good. Tasty, crispy.
Yes. No additive, nothing.
So, when did you start this business?
The business is pretty young. It's a few months ago. I just was at work the other day and I just was a little bit down.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I just need something different. I've been thinking about it, and then I said, why not? And this is my why not.
This is your why not.
Yes.
So, out of that mood of not being your normal self, being down. I mean, first you've had this situation that you've been struggling with for years, and you overcame that, and you said, you know what, I'm going to make a decision in terms of what I put in my body. And here you are with this delicious thing. And I know we're going to try the popsicle and stuff, but for now, I started this and I'm really excited about it, and I have to try again.
I can just tell you a little bit about it. We go ahead and we puree the fruits, and each one of the popsicles, like 95% of them, we have the fruit itself in the middle. So while you're divulging on the popsicle itself, you will have time to indulge in some of the fruits.
So this is peach, this is peachy.
Yes, that is the peachy keen.
Peachy keen.
Yes.
Then there is, this is berry.
Very bright, that has
Very
strawberry in the middle.
Berry. This is apple tide.
Yes. So each one of them, you'll find the fruit itself in the middle.
Right. Tropical blend. So this has
A mixture of all the fruits. Yes. Raspberry, blueberry.
Right, right. And then this is the
These
banana
are
split.
Yes, the banana
my
splits.
gosh.
Those are for
So what's up? All these tropical fruits found in Jamaica and in the Caribbean. How has it been going since you've started?
It has been going wonderful. It has been good. Right now it's home based because I haven't got a location, but we're also on Instagram at the Food Bar JA. So you can go ahead and check out the page. I'll leave my business card so persons could know. The number is 876-254-1656. And for now, we deliver.
Wow, this is amazing. I mean, we've often heard it said that necessity is the mother of invention. And it was necessary for you, having gone through that illness, to treat your body differently.
Yes.
Because as we said, I know the body is a temple, and what you put in is what you're really going to get out. So if you're putting in garbage in terms of what you're consuming, then it's going to, result in ailments and all kind of things like that. So congratulations. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, but out of that situation, all things work together for good. All things work together for good, right? So out of that situation came this beautiful business.
Yes.
And we wish you here from the Entrepreneurial You every success. I know the crew and myself are going to have a fine time.
Oh, yes.
indulging.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, guys. If you want to get the fruit bar, stuff from the fruit bar, check her out on Instagram, okay? For now, we're going to be selfish with this.
That's right.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Okay.
For more stories and resources, visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. Or you may check out the podcast, The Entrepreneurial You, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I've had some amazing guests like Les Brown, Lisa Nichols, Richard Branson, Seth Godin, and so much more. So go find the Entrepreneurial You podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Liberty Business, JPS, Digital Video Concept, Madison Chai, and HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. And remember, in the words of Zig Ziglar, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. What good? If today's episode, share the Entrepreneurial You with a friend, and week at the same place at the right time. I don't know what I'm saying because I didn't script it. I scripted it wrong. Sorry. For more stories, resources, and behind the scenes moment, you won't get that at HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. Wrong.